The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today, we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Lorraine, who lives in Birmingham, Alabama. And Lorraine asks, is the $22 million settlement between Columbia University and the Trump administration a blueprint for reshaping higher education? Should federal funding be contingent on adherence to political ideologies? And to that, I say no. And to the first question, I say I hope not. And Mark Scott, what do you say?
I think I say the same thing. No, it shouldn't be dependent on political ideology. There's a lot of places in the world where universities are controlled by political or religious ideologies. I'm sorry, that's just not the type of education system where people have the freedom to ask questions. And, you're basically taught doctrine. If you have a political ideology that you are required to adhere to, that stifles all of the independent, critical, and analytical thinking that universities are supposed to be producing. We advance because somebody says the common knowledge may be common, but it may be wrong knowledge. We advance because somebody says, no, I don't think that's right, and has the ability to do so and advance their knowledge and their intellect and their studies. And the best place to do that is in the university. Now, if you want to become a theocracy where we're all going to, be like Liberty University, okay, that's perfectly fine. But remember, you're not going to advance the country. And again, I go back to what Jared said. We are falling behind. We're already behind in a lot of senses, simply because our education system at the secondary level is so archaic that, it's still based on Horace Mann in some places. And I truly believe that, you've got to have that freedom, and it's got to be academic freedom for this country or any country to advance.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of that. Plus, here's the other part. When the United States government gives Harvard money, they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They have a need, and that need is best met by giving Harvard or other universities the money that they need to study a problem and come up with alternative solutions to solve the problem. It's not a gift. We get something back for it. And what we get is, medical advances, knowledge of weather advances, tectonic shifts advances, sociological advances. You can go out there and cherry pick some pretty stupid stuff, like, do monkeys like ice cream or something like that. You can bring up idiotic things like that. But, the fact remains is that there's a lot of scientific research, independent research that needs to be done in the world, and it's done by universities. The three of us went to Nova Southeastern University, which is one of the least famous universities in the world, right? It is not to my knowledge, a well-known place. I only really know schools that participate in the NCAA tournament. So they're not there yet. I think they're a Division III school. But Nova is a research university that does serious research work. And, we should be proud that we went there and that we represent that school, and that things that school does advances the cause of the United States of America. That's what universities do. And they're under fire right now by an administration whose official policy seems to be, don't look up. If you don't like COVID, don't test for COVID, and we won't have COVID. You'll die. You'll get sick and die, but you won't be able to call it COVID, and we're better off for not knowing what it is. The EPA just came out with a new rule yesterday it's going to go under review, and hopefully people send enough letters to prevent it from happening, that says that if a greenhouse gas, if a pollutant contributes to greenhouse gases, it is automatically not a threat to human health. This is the most ass backwards thing I think I've ever seen in my life. And the EPA just came out with that. It reverses a 2009 Clean Air Act rule that says, you know what? Climate change is dangerous. And we need to go out and study it. And people went out and studied it. And what they found is a lot of really, really important and disturbing stuff. And I'll just rattle off some of it now for you because we're lucky enough to have the New York Times got an op-ed today by some people who study climate change. And here's just a couple of things that they said about it was number one, the obvious stuff, right? Storms are stronger. People are dying from particulates in the air. We're going to have more frequent flooding. We're going to have more smoke in the air from more frequent forest fires. But there's other things too. High temperatures, like today, when it's 100 degrees out, will kill more people who have stressful underlying conditions like heart disease. But then there are other things that you find that researchers are finding happen because of environmental, thanks to environmental studies. For example, higher temperatures are associated with, not cause, correlation with, more miscarriages and more domestic violence. The link between rape and temperature is one of the strongest findings that this research uncovered. Additional heat from climate change leads to more suicides, murders, and assaults. Okay? So it's not just devastating fires in LA and Paradise, California, and Maui, and it's not just more floods like in Texas and hurricane damage to North Carolina and places that have never had it before, but it's also you can't get property insurance in some places now, some really nice places near the beach, and you can't get health insurance, or health insurance is becoming more and more expensive, and taxpayers need to pay more of our taxes that go to public social safety net programs because people can't bear the additional costs. We're finding that the Corn Belt is losing crops, that beef is at an all-time high because of drought that is preventing herds of cattle being proliferating across the country. The food prices are up, the economy is down, so on and so forth. There's a lot of stuff that we need to study, and we're moving in the opposite direction of it. And a lot of these things get studied in colleges and universities, and it makes us better, not worse, and we're making it worse.
Yeah. And the nice thing about our university, and yes, fins up, go Sharks. They are a university that does a lot of research on oceanography. Very, very big oceanography school. And the program that the three of us attended, at the time, there were only two of them. Us and what was it? James Mason.
James Madison or Mason?
I thought it was James Mason. Could be James Mason.
George Mason?
But there was only
George
two.
Mason. No, what
George
about
Mason. Oh, that was one of those Masons.
What about Atlanta? It was ICAR.
ICAR was a different organization. That's an organization. I'm talking about university.
No, it wasn't. It was
like online conflict programs, right?
It was George Mason, and there was another one in Atlanta. Was there not?
Oh, I didn't hear of them. Oh, the only two I knew was George Mason and us.
No, there were three. There was one in Atlanta and one in Columbia.
But think about that for a minute. Three. So yeah, Nova Southeastern would not be considered one of the the Harvards of whatever, but they had programs and their research was important. And what was taught at these universities was important. And Scott's right. We wouldn't have Velcro if it wasn't for universities and NASA, because the government doesn't have the expertise. They don't have the expertise in these things. This requires scientists. This requires scholars. And that's not the government's bureaucrats and politicians. The last thing they are is scholars. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a bad policy to say that the thing that makes you the strongest has the potential to make you the strongest. Education and the involvement of universities has to be dictated by a political ideology. You want Stalin's Russia? Go ahead. You want Saudi Arabia? Go ahead. Iran? Go ahead. That's basically, those are what you're moving toward. Those kinds of relationships between the universities and the state, where they have to teach the state. What's next? Are we going to start teaching, again, Judeo-Christian has to be taught? I mean, I was offered a position here in South Carolina. And when I went to the thing, and I knew I was going to take it anyway, but they said, well, how does your faith inform your teaching? And I said, excuse me, I'm a sociologist. I have no soul. So that was pretty much the end of that interview, thank God. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not here to teach you what to think. My job is to teach you how to think and impart some knowledge of what I've learned. But if you come up with knowledge better than mine, I want the student to become the teacher. I want them to be the ones that advance past my thinking. And if you have it where everybody is in lockstep with some political ideology, that is not what you're going to be getting, unfortunately.
No, and the caps on what graduates can borrow now for doctors and lawyers, the amounts are like $200,000 for a lifetime loan, I believe, with $50,000 a year. To get a medical degree, schools cost more than that. So unless a person can get a private loan, or you have money somewhere or someone you can borrow from, going to medical school, it will be out of the question now for many people. And we, the country, are also losing many doctors, because many doctors were coming in from elsewhere outside the United States. I have students who are gifted in their studies and they want to go to medical school. And I have had to tell them, don't even think of coming here. There are too many problems now. You want to go to medical school? Go to Canada. Don't even think of coming here now. And so and we used to have tremendous research.
Yeah, and look, here's the other part of this. And I said this in one of our casts last week. Like, he's just too in our face. The government, we don't want this kind of government in everything, and we're getting way too much Trump. And it really hurts the United States. It is antithetical to the Republican Party, which is the party of small government. And the idea is, the idea that we're going to continue to allow Trump to make decisions for everybody in the country, influence schools down to pre-K through grad school, tell us when we need to know what the weather is going to be like, what the storms are, all of that stuff is just too in your face. And we all seek relief, I believe, from these interventions. They're just uncalled for and they're not helpful.
I agree. Well, hopefully we answered that.
So thank you, Lorraine, for your question. We really appreciate that, and Another great question and a great discussion. Thank you both. And thank you to all our listeners for spending some time with us today. We encourage everyone to subscribe to the Nova Society on whatever platform you prefer. If you are not already subscribed, subscribing is free. So please go ahead and do that. And you can tell a friend about us if you like. So for everyone here at the Nova Society, Mark, Scott, and me, I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, BH Conflict Resolution Services, a full-service dispute resolution firm offering expert, cost-effective mediation services to couples, groups, and businesses. BHCRS can be reached at www.bhcrs.com.